I have a feeling that we're going to be moving up a little bit on the tier of 2024 releases
I think so. Yeah.
because we finally watched Furiosa,
Yes.
which apparently was a big enough deal. I was at the gym and they were advertising on TV that they were showing this on Max, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Well, they got to get people to watch it because I mean, this was another movie that bombed horribly.
Yeah, and it also caused a lot of debate and argumentation online.
Yeah.
And in fact, it even it torpedoed your boy Zach over at Comics Matter with your boy Zach's channel, and
Yeah.
it may have hurt some of his crowdfunding efforts. I don't know. I haven't paid
Yeah.
much attention to him since he kind of got onto this movie, and the reaction to this movie kind of resulted in sustained weeks on end of really annoying community posts and videos.
Hmm.
Where I just said, okay, enough. The topic has been exhausted.
Yeah. But yeah,
This really wasn't worth all the brouhaha.
I didn't think so either. Now I will say it's not a great movie. It's all right.
Yeah, a perfectly all right movie, not worth people getting up in arms about one way or the other, which is actually kind of damning.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Say what you will about Madam Web, it's notably awful.
Yeah, yeah.
This is Furiosa is a movie where I think I am going to remember a couple bits of Chris Hemsworth performance, and then a couple of images that were a little bit on the gross side that will just stick with me for a bit, and then it will be like I never watched it.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll your boy Zach, and never heard of him.
He
He used to be
is
called Diversity in Comics was his old YouTube channel called before. He did Jawbreakers.
he kind of made the current paradigm of comic book crowdfunding.
Yeah, yeah. He's also he did the Expendables comic book, and yeah,
Yep. Made some good work. Has provided some good commentary over the years. Just kind of got into a safe rut, and him being angry at people for some honestly disingenuous takes about this movie. Like he was not wrong. It's just I didn't need to hear about it for 2 months on end.
yeah. He was
just this movie. It's more just like him taking shots at a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah. And Ninja's says his biggest issue is it's a prequel to Fury Road. Yeah, and it is. Like it actually leads into that movie. You could almost watch this movie first and then Fury Road.
I would say that Fury Road would probably be better if you had seen this one first than the other way around.
Yeah, I think so too.
In fact, I think that because this movie has been out for long enough, and because it is the prequel, so you know that she's not getting back to the green place.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that we are, and you also know that she's not going to die.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that we are fully within our rights to spoil away, and we're not going to. Yeah, we're going to spoil away. You had your warning.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I think this is when we're going to talk about, like, if this interested you, you probably already watched it. If you enjoyed Mad Max Fury Road well enough and just want some more media with that feel, give this a watch.
Yeah.
If you just kind of had an average response to it, then don't bother. You're probably better off going to like Steam and buying the old Mad Max video game from the time period of that it came out around Fury Road.
Oh yeah,
because I heard that was kind of an underappreciated gem. But we're going to get into it.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about so does it make more sense to talk about this in terms of positives and negatives, or does it make more sense to talk about it chronologically?
We could talk about it. I guess.
Yeah, let's do it chronologically.
Yeah, let's. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's where I was leaning. Yeah.
because while I just gave it like a little bit of a positive there, this thing is what 2 hours and 2.5 hours, 2 hours 45, something
Yeah,
like that.
2.5 hours. Yeah, thereabouts.
The big negative, in my opinion, is that the first half hour of the movie could have been replaced with "When I was a child, I was taken from the Greenland
Hmm.
or from the Green Place."
Yeah.
Cut to Fury Road being taken from the Green Place. My mother tried to save me, but she failed. Cut to mother being burned and crucified as Furiosa is forced to watch.
Hmm.
After that, I fell into the hands of Dementus, who, and I followed him for many years. And there's your first half of the movie summed up with everything you actually care about.
Yeah.
Like when I heard from reviews at the time that uh, they had a long prequel or prologue, I
Yeah.
was kind of expecting it to have way more of the Green Place because, to my mind, that would have been more interesting than a lot of what we got.
Yeah, and I really didn't necessarily need to know a whole lot about Dementus. Like I this isn't a knock on Hemsworth. I didn't think the character was all that interesting.
He really became more interesting once he was out conquering and everything.
Yeah.
Because also, how weird is it that her name is Furiosa? Like her
Uh,
given name is Furiosa.
yeah, I would have thought that somebody had given her that name from like either like like Dementus gave her that name or you know or
Maybe she
Morton
got the
Joe
nickname
or
for being the one who ran the Fury Road.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, like it would be the biggest, it would be as much of a coincidence as like if you became a truck driver and your main route went to Danville.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's like so I think somebody would ask, "Are you just called that because you're well known for driving to Danville?" Like, no, that's my name.
Yeah, yeah.
The question would come up. It's like
Yeah.
you get a little glimpse of her in the nice primeval forest with her friend, and you don't really like. I'm just kind of shocked at how little you saw of her and her life there,
Yeah.
because it would seem to me that you're trying to really like contrast the wonderfulness of the green place with the awfulness of the desert.
Yeah.
But she's just like immediately grabbed, and then we have a very long chase scene between the two thugs and Furiosa's mother.
Yeah. And n- not much happening. It's just
Right.
just
It's just a long. Oh my God! It's the Last Jedi again. Where it's just a long chase scene.
yeah, that accomplishes nothing.
Yeah, because like, okay. While I was said you said you could cut out the first half hour.
Hmm.
I like you could probably just trim like 10 minutes of chase out of there
Yeah.
because all you really need to know: Furiosa grabbed, mother chases. Sidebar: Chris Gore has been on this tear about the forehead touching thing.
Oh
Like, yeah,
yeah.
this should be a kiss or it should be a hug, but it's like people just butt foreheads
Yeah.
in kind of an intimate way. Um, I don't hate it as much as he does, but it does
Yeah.
still look kind of weird at times.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't hate it. And I will say when you once you read Guardian Angel Part 2, you'll see why. But
see, see where I think it kind of works is it's a way to show intimacy between two characters that is like without having a kiss or having a hug. Because like if two actors hug each other from the side, you can kind of lose some details from their bodies.
yeah.
And if they kiss, that implies it's more romantic than it might necessarily be.
Yeah.
Actually, oh no. What
Hmm.
if that's their way of cutting out a thing that could be censored in some countries?
Oh, maybe.
Because, like, I think I get the feeling that Furiosa's mom was possibly in a romantic thing with the woman she did the forehead bump with.
Mm,
But if you just have them do like a friendly forehead bump, you don't have to make another cut for the Middle East.
right. Yeah. That could potentially be it. Yeah. Although they did it in I think they did it in Fury Road.
Yeah, so maybe George Miller is the one who created it, and everyone just thought it looked cool.
Yeah, probably.
But anyway, so mom goes off in hot pursuit. We meet. I would say like where this movie's real strength is the world building,
Hmm.
which I feel like it had more time to get into that than Fury Road did, just because it has less story, actually,
Yeah,
despite taking place over a much longer stretch of time.
yeah, and I would say too, also with the other Mad Max movies as well. Yeah, because it definitely built up the lore of the desert in Australia and this post-apocalyptic, hellscape.
Right? It kind of explains how people can survive as well as they can,
Hmm.
um, how the tech works. I think my favorite side character is the history man because
Yeah,
like he's just the guy who's like the living encyclopedia who knows everything.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's like a walking computer. Yeah,
Yeah. And it's like that's how he's useful. Like he just knows things.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so she gets captured, the mom gets killed. She's held by uh, Dementus, who like I would have just assumed that was a name he gave himself, but now that I know that Furiosa can be a given name, now I have to wonder.
yeah,
Maybe in 10 years, uh, George Miller's brain in a jar will bring us Dementus, a Furiosa saga, and we'll
yeah,
find out about his awful childhood.
yeah. Oh boy. Oh man. Um, but yeah. So Dementus is trying to find the green place, and of course Furiosa won't tell him. But then they come across one of Immortan Joe's painted white dudes,
What they call war boys.
war boys, yeah, and
Actually,
and
it was kind of amusing. Like, he had like an arrow sticking out of his skull, and he's like, "Am I in Valhalla?"
yeah, yeah, and then so then he tells him about Morton Joe's Citadel, and then that's when Dementus goes out there because he wants to take it over, and then that's when open conflict begins, and then Dementus goes to Gastown, which yeah, so they're like three different towns in this like empire, if you will. Yeah, the Citadel with Morton Joe, and that's where they grow like all the food, and they have the fresh water, and then there's Gas Town, and that's where they get all the gas. And then Bullet Town is where
The Bullet Farm is what they call it.
Bullet Farm, yeah, Bullet Farm is where all the munitions are.
Yep. So these are the three symbiotic elements of Morton Joe's empire, and then Chris Hemsworth as Dementus decides to take over Gastown.
Hmm.
So basically, he becomes a co-equal with the Morton Joe. And what's interesting, so let's talk about Chris Hemsworth a little bit. It's
Yeah,
kind of amusing to see him actually getting to use his real voice for once,
yeah,
since Australian.
yeah, yeah. He's usually either American or British. Yeah,
uh, or Asgardian, which means faux Shakespeare.
yeah,
Um, I think he's the best part of this movie because he's like really swinging for the fences with his performance. Like you can tell that this is just a guy who is not comfortable
hmm,
with. He's not comfortable with anything really.
yeah,
Like, or he's not comfortable with peace. Like he's good at taking things over and being hyper violent in short bursts. But
yeah,
you put him in charge of managing something like the gas town, and suddenly it just falls to bits.
yeah. Yeah, and what's funny too is that he's always constantly like reimagining himself. Like, oh, I'm Dementus, and now I'm the Red Dementus, and now I'm Black Dementus, and yeah,
Right, like he gets hit with a red signal flare, and like it covers him in this red ochre paint. It's like I'm the Red Dementus.
yeah,
He's just a chaotic being,
yeah,
and I'm there to enjoy it because it's like he is the best part of this thing.
yes, and I was definitely hurting at the scene when something happens to his nipples.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
earning that R rating in a bunch of uncomfortable ways.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Furiosa herself is just kind of quiet and brooding.
Mhm.
Um, what's interesting about her is, so first off, I mentioned I had watched this movie, and my dad said, "Oh yeah, Anya Taylor Joy was in that one, right?" And his first thought was, "She has really big eyes." What's funny is that she does. Like it's even more noticeable like in the movie than on this poster. It
She gets the black paint on her forehead, and yeah, and it really does
really
make
just
her.
pop. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
just makes them look. It makes them look even bigger. Um, not body shaming anybody, just saying she has big expressive eyes, and then they
yes.
don't really call on her to express it all.
No, she has a very flat, you know, um, expression throughout most of the movie.
Yeah, like when a major character dies, that's when she finally starts to care about things, and that's when things get more interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah, 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 and how she ends up with Immortan Joe is that Immortan Joe wants Furiosa because he wants her to be part of his perfect women harem.
Basically, in this world, most children are born with some sort of birth defect, like pretty awful ones, as we see.
Yeah,
So he's trying to find people who he can breed for healthy children, like a healthy son instead of the two complete dumbasses he's left with
Yeah,
as his grown children.
yeah, and that was part of Fury Road. Yeah, that was her Furiosa's whole motivation in that movie to get those girls out. Um, and But then she manages to get away from all that, and then she pretends to be a boy.
Right, while working for Morton Joe. Uh, so after that time skip, is that when it became Anya Taylor Joy because they had like some sort of child actor, and she was always under so much stuff that
Yeah,
like I couldn't quite tell when she became Anya Taylor Joy.
it was somewhere around in there. I think what they did was they took her. I think probably took like this upper part of her face and CGI'd it onto a child actor. Um,
Maybe like
yeah.
because I almost I almost had the thought, wait, did she only just become Anya Taylor Joy after she had been on the Fury Road for a few years after the second big time skip? No, that can't be right. That there's only an hour of the movie left. They wouldn't use a child actor for the character for the title main character for more than half the movie.
Yeah.
I thought I can't place exactly where the swap happened.
Yeah, it's hard to tell where it happens. Yeah. Yeah, then she becomes part of the Fury Road crew, which is led by this guy named Praetorian Jack, who
Multiple reviews basically said, "Oh yeah, this is your apology for not having Mad Max in the movie because he's basically Mad Max."
yeah, that's what I thought too. I kept referring in my head. I kept referring to him as not Mad Max.
Yeah, and of course, we're going spoiler here, so
Mhm.
you've been long since warned. He ends up dying because of Dementis, and she goes off to get her final revenge after losing her arm and getting a cyborg replacement.
Yes, yeah,
One of the cool little details is that she was basically tattooing a star map that would point her to the green place, and of
yeah,
course, which arm gets destroyed?
yeah. The one, yeah. um, yeah, and then so yeah, the final climax is basically her, fully becoming Furiosa, where she gets her, yeah, like she gets her cybernetic arm, she shaves her head, and then uh, chases down Dementis, and they have a little back and forth, and she finally tells him, who she really is, and yeah,
And then the movie basically ends where Fury Road begins with her absconding with some of the wives.
yes, and if I'm not mistaken, doesn't Mad Max show up like very briefly?
I didn't see him. It could
I
have just blinked and missed him, but uh,
it, yeah, it was kind of a blink and you'll miss it kind of thing, because I could have sworn I saw there's like a quick shot of a guy standing on a hillside with a muscle car, and he's wearing a leather jacket and
mm,
everything. I went, wait a minute, is that Mad Max?
probably.
Yeah,
I did hear that he appeared briefly. I just never noticed him.
yeah, it's like 1 or 2 seconds. Yeah,
Yeah. So again, like, was this movie worth a bigger budget than the original Mad Max Fury Road? No.
mm,
Now here's the thing. I'm in a strange position here where like I can't deny the artistry and sheer effort that went into this. Like,
yeah,
there's more CGI in this than the previous movie, but that's because they were trying to do things that you could not do practically.
yeah,
But like just this would make like George Miller needs to give his world building notes to a tabletop RPG company and just make a kick-ass Mad Max Wasteland of the Three Cities or whatever source
yeah,
book,
yeah,
because that would just be an amazing setting to have adventures in.
yeah. And if he ever does do another movie, I hope, kind of hope that yeah, that he does a Mad Max in that setting. Having Mad
Right,
Max in there, like,
right. We could have Mel Gibson come in and be old man Mad Max, and which is
yeah,
kind of the movie that everybody was seems to have been longing for deep down.
yeah, yeah. Yes, I've seen the AI art images of old man Mad Max. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just I unfortunately George Miller is kind of old. This movie bombed.
mm,
To I can't see him getting a budget for a movie this grand. Now, on the other hand, I don't think you necessarily need a movie this grand. This movie is great. He also might be done with what he wanted to say with this, because
yeah,
my thought when I had seen Fury Road before I saw the other Mad Max movies.
yeah,
When we watched The Road Warrior together, I
mm,
really thought to myself, oh, Fury Road is what George Miller was imagining in his head in the 80s when he made that movie.
yeah, yeah,
So maybe he's just done. I don't know.
yeah. Maybe.
But like it's just kind of a middling post-apocalyptic movie that had the budget of a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, yeah, and I will say too, like, I think part of the reason this movie bombed was that the marketing let it down. Because it was definitely trying to show Furiosa as being the girl boss, thing, and that's really not in this.
No, she spends most of the movie behind the eight ball. It was a good story, and and she was likable enough. Just I didn't end up bonding with her because she kind of I think it's because like where she got more interesting was when she had Praetorian Jack, the not Mad Max, to play off of,
Yeah,
because she suddenly had an actual human connection. She spent the first more than half of the movie just in sullen quiet mode. Like
yeah,
people thought that her character that when she was just pretending to be a boy mechanic was mute. It's like
mm,
that makes sense as a way to hide out, but it doesn't make you all that interesting of a character.
yeah,
Like if I'd been asked, what would you do instead? I would have made her friends with Praetorian Jack. Like maybe they could be like have grown up together. Like he figures out her secret and he keeps it, and they eventually end up on the war rig together.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and Ninja points out it's kind of like the trailer for War of the Rohim, kind of did the same thing. Yeah,
Yeah, it's we've been talking a bit about the most expensive market testing ever. Just stop trying to girl boss.
yeah,
Nobody likes girl bosses. Um, you have actresses saying, "I don't want to be a strong." I turn away from scripts that say strong female character. Just present the character as a character, and we will like them. I promise.
yeah, yeah,
Again, like Furiosa is kind of a flat character, but she doesn't do anything hateful during the movie, and you understand why she's doing it the whole time, including the being flat part.
Yeah. Yeah.
She kind of went through the ringer.
Yeah, yeah, she did, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would yeah, like I said, it's not a great movie, not a but not a horrible movie either, and it's I would definitely put it somewhere in the middle, maybe lower half in terms of the with the other Mad Max movies.
And on its own merits, like high C, low B.
Yeah.
Definitely, if this type of thing sounds appealing to you at all, worth watching on Max. Don't go renting it on its own merits.
Yeah.
Just get yourself a month of Max, enjoy this, and then I don't know, go watch some Batman the Animated Series or whatever else they have on there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll watch Tokyo Vice. That's a pretty good show.
Yeah.